we did that whole agile development process, and actually everybody loved it. It was great. We again, for all you practitioners, that's not new, but if you're in a big corporation and 5-year sprints, that is, it's new. You have to do it, right? You have to do it once. We came up, and we did we did those ourselves, and none of us was a designer, so that's why they look so crappy. But we sketched what the app should do. Like, we had people look at it, and it was a great success. We same as before. We had an MVP approach. We had development sprints, right? With the car has to work with the app and on the street and all that. So it's all real photos. That's us. And something that was especially helpful, we actually said, we had a sprint plan before, and we actually cut out the last 3 sprints and said, customer experience over product, really, which that was hard. And say, we want to really test for 6 weeks before we bring that to market. Because again, with the brand and the corporation, if the product sucks, that falls back onto the BMW brand, and the BMW brand is a multi-billion-dollar brand, so we can't have that. So what we did is we cooperated with Applause in that case, so a crowd testing provider. And for us, they're usually sitting on their couch testing. For us, what they did, they actually, 20 people every day came into the city. They got long test cases from me, and they did all of that. They found a car, drove it outside the city, tried to end the booking, and all those test cases. Like, I had test cases mapped out for 6 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, we added 200 guided friends and family testers. So those were people we knew, or people that said, hey, I saw your cars, what is it, can I be part of it? So they were very motivated, and we gave them 2 test cases per week. Basically, maybe the first day they stuck to those. Day 2, they started just to use the service however they wanted, because it was free, and they just went crazy and just used it every day. And so we saw the car. We have a tool where we can see the cars, so we saw the cars all over. And then for the last 2 weeks, we added 2,000 completely unguided testers. Here's access, figure it out. So just to see how would someone who has never used something like that before actually deal with that. And yeah, it was a big success. And this way we also got load onto the system. So from an IT side of things, we were able to already put some load on it and have 200-300 cars in the city and see how all that works. We then reserved 1-2 week slot for getting everything in that we learned. Problem was also that our board member wanted to announce the brand on the day of the launch, so all the cars were not allowed to be branded. But on the day of the launch, they all 500 had to be branded. So we needed those 2 weeks to actually pull all the cars into a garage that was locked off, and then they were all branded. And at the day of the launch, it's already a little later in the day, so the garage was somewhere there in the middle, and then over the course of the day of the launch, the cars just spread all over Seattle. And what was great about that is that launch exceeded all the expectations that we had. The target for the year was 30,000 customers. We had 13,000 within the first 3 weeks. And we reached the 30,000 by September, so this was April 8th. So by September, we had the 30,000, and we had 50 by the end of the year. So it was much more successful than we had hoped for, which was great, because we used that method for the first time. We actually listened to the customer, built the tool, built the system, built the process and the service exactly how he wants it, communicated in a way, again, the communication, the brand, communicated the points that differentiate us from a car2go, for example, which we knew from those interviews and from the surveys. So all that was great and great feedback, and it helped us to be really successful there for the launch. Because we also had on the schedule to add on add-on services, like we also did ride sharing, where you are driven like an Uber-like product, just to get experience with that. We did Reserve, where you can schedule and get a car delivered. We did Fleet Solutions, pretty cool product, where you have like a high-end apartment building. They offer everything. They have a gym, they have a pool, they have a laundry service, you name it. Well, now they also have a fleet of cars exclusively for the tenants. And it's mainly those 3-6 month furnished apartments, high exclusive apartment buildings, where people who go there as a consultant or so, you don't have a car, and then, well, now you have a car. And for the builder, it's great because he can reduce the number of parking spots that he has to build when he's building the building, because he has a shared fleet, so usually one car gets used by 5 people, so he needs less space. So that's actually a pretty successful add-on. And yep, I mentioned the ride sharing. So for those, back to the process, so yay, and include customers and so on. So that part was very successful. And so we kept the momentum going. So we wanted to really advance in that plan, right? We had that process, we had proven that it works, and we just kept going. With an agency, we created interface and interaction guidelines, because now imagine you have 5 companies, they all have marketing, they all have development, and they all want to, well, we think this way is totally cool, we should develop that way. And then the other you know what, green is a great color. And yeah, no. So we kind of had to set boundaries in which they can act. It's very, very, very basic. We didn't tell them this is how your app should look. I did create app designs for them to show them if you want to stick to it could look like this. And some took it and others still created their own, but they all stuck to the guidelines. We installed a chief customer officer really in the company there in Seattle. He has product and marketing underneath himself, and we even installed a manager of member, sorry, they call them members, we're a family, a manager of member happiness. So her job is to make members happy. She listens to the social channels, she listens to the hotline, she gets all the email, and she and her team solves the problems for the customers. And we didn't just stop there. For example, we implemented all 3 steps of the NPS system. I mean, you all know the NPS is a measure, but Setmetrics actually has like that whole system behind that, and we didn't just want the measure or the metric and forget about the rest. I really wanted to install the whole thing. If you're interested, there's a video, Net Promoter System on a napkin. It's pretty cool, I think. So yes, we measure daily, and closing the loop. We measure daily. And we're also closing the loop. We are involving management in the solution of the customer's problems. So every month I have a segment in our internal board round. And it used to be called Customer Complaint of the Month. I renamed it to Customer Feedback of the Month. As you can see, it's now a little more balanced. You have positive and negative. And the goal is that someone who really had a bad problem and had a negative experience, that one of in Munich, of our management that is kind of in charge of that part, gets on the phone or on email or on Twitter, wherever they are, gets in touch with him and makes it right. And that helps a lot, because usually they see something like this. Yeah, great, Net Promoter for 45, perfect. Satisfaction 4.2, yep, everything's good. But if you only see that, you don't really see what your customers see, right?